Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to our student rep from Lakewood High School. We have Wisdom Holland, and would you lead us in the pledge?
Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated.
Thank you, Wisdom. We are meeting remotely tonight and welcome all those who are participating by watching through YouTube. As a reminder, we welcome public comment and have provided a mechanism for you to make public comment by leaving voice messages to be played to the board and the public during our broadcast. If you wish to speak at a future meeting, please go to our public participation page on www.lbschools.net, which will give you more information about how to give public comment. As a reminder, in conformance with the Brown Act, when we hear testimony on an item that is not listed on the agenda, a full discussion of that topic would have to be delayed until such time as the item can be publicly posted in advance as a regular agenda item. The board has been meeting in closed session regarding matters listed on today's closed session agenda and wishes to report that no reportable actions were taken. So as we get started, I would like to welcome our two newest board members, Mr. Doug Otto, Mr. Eric Miller. Welcome. They were sworn in at our last board meeting. This will be their first official board meeting for the whole time. So welcome. You've taken on a big responsibility at a very important time. So thank you for doing that. All right, next on the agenda, we have a public hearing. There is none. Do we have any agenda items for separate action or adoption of the agenda?
Move to
Move adoption of the agenda. Or second, either one.
Second, yeah.
Okay, discussion? All in favor, and we will do this by roll call vote. So Dr. Benitez,
Aye.
Ms. Kerr,
Aye.
Mr. Miller,
Aye.
Mr. Otto,
Aye.
and I vote aye. Opposed, abstentions, passes 5-0. Approval of minutes.
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor by roll call vote. Dr. Benitez,
Aye.
Ms. Kerr,
Aye.
Mr. Miller,
Aye.
Mr. Otto,
Aye.
and I vote aye. Opposed, abstentions, passes 5-0. Introduction of our student board member. So Wisdom, we're coming back to you. And at this time, we would love to hear a report from you in Lakewood High School.
Sounds good. Hello, everyone. My name is Wisdom Holland. I am currently a senior at Lakewood High School, and I'm also the ASB president, a part of the Merit Scholar program intended to get me off to a four-year university. The staff, student, and faculty at Lakewood are doing the best they can to keep students engaged during distant learning, and we are looking forward to the day that we can return to campus. Virtual activities have been prominent throughout the semester, in where Lakewood students can participate in virtual activities in order to win Lakewood Spirit Gear. We are looking forward to having more virtual activities, including an Among Us game night on January 28th. Among Us has been a very popular game throughout the high school community and thought this would be a fun idea to do. The asynchronous days have been quite popular throughout the student groups, especially the ones that we had Thursday and Friday. We hope for next semester to have more asynchronous days in order to give students an opportunity to have that one-on-one time with their teachers. Lastly, we had in the month of November, we had a very successful necessity drive collecting blankets, clothes, canned goods, and hygienic supplies for the less fortunate. Those are the updates from Lakewood High School.
Thank you, Wisdom. You mentioned you were an ASB president. Did you also mention if you were a senior?
Yes.
You are a senior. Can you share some of your plans for next year?
Yes, so some of my plans for next year, the goal is to go to a 4-year private institution. Right now, I'm down to 3 main choices, California Lutheran, Baylor, or Grand Canyon University, in hopes of being a psychology major. And with that, I want to get my PhD in order to have the doctor title and psychologist.
Very good. That sounds like a solid plan. And I know we have a few people on board with us today that are very proud of you for that, in particular, that subject matter. Well, thank you, Wisdom. We understand you might not be able to share the whole evening with us. So if you need to leave because of any reason, studies, school-related things, we completely understand. But thank you for being with us tonight. Next, we go to communications. So Dr. Kale, will you help us out?
I'd be happy to. On behalf of the Long Beach School Librarians Association, it is my pleasure to introduce a pre-recorded presentation put together by a dynamic team of teacher librarians representing our elementary, middle and K-8 and high schools. They are here with us tonight to share our future-ready and innovative library programs with concrete examples of the student library experience for this year. So now, Mr. Itzen, if you would cue up the video, I'd like to turn things over to Kat Tasea. And my notes disappeared. I'm sorry. To Kat Tasea, Christine De La Garza, Shannon Will, and Kathleen Naruse.
Good evening. My name is Kat Tasea, teacher librarian at Lafayette Elementary School and social media co-chair of the Long Beach School Librarian Association. And I appreciate the opportunity to share along with my colleagues to the board, Superintendent Dr. Jill Baker, executive staff, and all who are attending this evening. This recent quote by ALA to Biden-Harris Education Transitional Team frames the why we are sharing this evening. The Future Ready Teacher Librarian
came to our book.
But LBUS executive staff and all who are attending this evening. This recent quote by ALA to Biden-Harris Education Transitional Team frames the why we are sharing this evening. The Future Ready Teacher Librarian Framework has served as a roadmap for our professional growth and program planning, providing guidance for the essential and intentional role of school librarians as instructional partners through collaboration and program development. We are thankful to share with you tonight samples of what LBUSD Future Ready Librarian programs look like.
Hi, I'm Christina De La Garza. I'm an elementary school teacher librarian, and I am at Hart Elementary and Holmes Elementary. This is an example of a weekly distance learning schedule for an elementary teacher librarian. We are typically serving students through Zoom lessons for much of the academic day, and with remaining time, we are attending to our library duties such as curbside lending, upkeep of our collections, collaborating with colleagues, and in some cases, APEX instruction. As you may know, we've been facilitating curbside library lending programs at our elementary sites, mostly during lunch times, abiding by a clear set of safety protocols. Although our students do have access to a wide range of digital tools, they love having access to physical books. Our students have also recently benefited from the generosity of the Molina Foundation, and many of our students came to our book giveaways and now have books that they can keep for their own at home. Digital media literacy is one of the most important components of the library curriculum at the elementary school level. Our students are digital natives. They spend a considerable amount of time at home playing games, watching videos, and seeking information online. In doing so, they face a number of potential threats such as cyberbullying, exposure to inappropriate content, and the compromising of their personal information. In a series of digital media literacy and digital citizenship lessons adapted from Common Sense Media, teacher librarians instruct students to interact appropriately online, secure their personal information, and to share thoughtfully and respectfully. This aspect of our work is one that we approach with a sense of urgency, as a student's digital footprint is permanent and carries consequences. Moreover, we stress the importance of balancing time online with unplugged offline activities such as reading or exercising. Our literacy lessons include rich text. Thanks to recent library funding allocations, we've been better able to develop our collections so that they reflect the diversity of our student body. This is a sampling of texts that have elicited rich and meaningful conversations with students this year during my library sessions. Through these books, students have been able to discuss how they've seen a window into someone else's experience or how they've seen their own experiences reflected. These sessions help to strengthen classroom communities and build empathy among students. For an example of a lesson with a strong social emotional component, I recently read this book, I Am Every Good Thing with a Class. And here's a quote from the book that I particularly enjoyed. I am brave. I am hope. I am my ancestors' wildest dreams. I am worthy of success, of respect, of safety, of kindness, and happiness. And we used I Am Every Good Thing as a mentor text to write self-affirmation poems. Many of our elementary campuses will be participating in the One School, One Book initiative, which has been sponsored generously by the Rotary Club of Long Beach. So 5 of our campuses will receive a book that they choose for students in grades K through 3. They get to keep the book and read it at home with family members. The purpose of this initiative is to create a community of readers and to spark meaningful conversations. We're very excited also about World Read Aloud Day on Wednesday, February 3rd. Some of us will be hosting authors and they will be speaking to our students virtually. They'll be hosting up to 300 students at a time. We know that among our students are future authors, and we're very excited that these authors are going to be able to share their craft. If any members of the board or the executive team would like to join us, please reach out and we would gladly send you an invitation.
Hi, my name is Shannon Will, and I'm the teacher librarian at Hudson and Robinson. And this year I have 2 sections of 6th grade ELA for the APEX program. Before I get started, I would like to first share a few words from one of our instructional partners.
I'm Kristen Wallen, and I teach 4th at Hudson. And I would like to talk a little bit about our teacher librarian, Miss Will, and the impact she's had on my class during distance learning. Miss Will has given my students a sense of normalcy during this completely abnormal time in history. They so look forward to library time. It's a really treasured time for them. And the fact that they still get to have it, even virtually, really means a lot to them. And socially and emotionally is very important for them. Additionally, Miss Will has given my class so many resources through virtual libraries that she's shared to us that are on Google Slides with links to books on EPIC and other resources that really let students discover more about what they're interested about and learn more about important issues. Her impact on my class has been substantial. Thank you, Ms. Will. I'm Kristen Wallen, and
Teacher librarians often connect their live read-alouds across content and skill areas. This interactive slide and extension that can be used for asynchronous engagement was inspired by the picture book, May Among the Stars, a nonfiction biography about the first Black female astronaut, Mae Jemison. Students can read related online books, do STEM activities, watch live footage from NASA, and even revisit a recording of the read-aloud. As Christina mentioned, media literacy is a critical part of our instruction and more important than ever. We facilitate this learning with many lessons like this one involving misinformation and conspiracy theories around vaccines, posing questions to guide discussion. Our scholars consume information in a multitude of ways, and we are there to help them decipher and organize this information. The district provides several databases for kindergarten through 12th grade, vetted and credible sources for students to use. Not only does this prepare them for academic research beyond high school, but it offers a space for personalized resources, as well as instruction and tools to properly cite sources. As an extension from the previous slide on media literacy, students can conduct their own research on vaccines. They can highlight and annotate their resources and save them for later in their district Google Drive. Project Lit is a national literacy movement of educators and students committed to increasing access to diverse books and promoting a love of reading. Hank Waddles, ELA teacher at Stanford, started this many years ago.
Hello, I'm Kathleen Naruse, and I will be sharing about high school teacher librarians, or TLs. My current school sites are Pal Pathway at Poly High School, Browning High School, Signal Hill Elementary. High school TLs foundationally build upon skills and strategies our scholars learn from TK-8, scaffold and build a bridge for them to help them navigate forward into career and college readiness. We also strive to foster lifelong learning as we are continually adding to our knowledge too. We have partnerships with colleagues in both classrooms and communities to support all learners. Our various roles at high school sites include online database and lesson support, being trainers of trainers and supporting Canvas LMS, community collaborators, supporting site administrators, to name a few. The Power and Partnership supporting fostering a TK through 16 lens, supporting students to have agency in their learning, cultivate community partnerships, personalized professional learning, digital media and informational literacy, career and college readiness with real-world opportunity, supporting SEL and restorative practices. A snapshot into pathway teaming and collaboration includes working together on professional development for colleagues, attending Fall Q and other professional conferences, and workshops for additional asynchronous and synchronous lesson ideas. As Ms. Sato states, teacher librarians are vital in creating an academic environment for all of our students, key in bridging the gap of digital literacy. Collaborating and teaming with classroom colleagues, for example, team lessons and soft skills in a virtual environment, accessing credible sources to learn about U.S. Supreme Court landmark cases or about different careers opportunities and educational level needed, and having the opportunity to create resumes and cover letters. Additionally, TLs K through 12 have been creating modules for lessons and posting on Canvas Commons for easy transition into colleagues' Canvas courses. Ms. Ibana states TLs are restorative, caring, and innovative, and a valuable resource on campus. TLs also modify in-person opportunities into virtual ones, such as our mock interviews coming up in February with Long Beach Call, where students learn how to put what they have learned into real-world practices and share written documents such as resumes or their cover letters. As Ms. Fujikami shares, teacher librarians allow LB Call to reach students directly and coordinate opportunities that benefit students and make it meaningful to our business partners. If interested, please join us. Resources and future teaming opportunities with higher educations are some of the next steps high school TLs have been working towards. As Ms. Ashbrook shares, high school TLs strive to input the knowledge and skills our students will be need in college. We are also developing a library bridge program that focuses on building relationships between high school TLs and LBCC librarians. Our partnership is flexible with Long Beach Public Library and Mobile Studios. Our face-to-face teaming have shifted to planning virtual ones. As Mr. Sheridan shares, this keeps student scholars connected to the Long Beach Public Library resources and collection and fostered in students the ideas that they continue to be surrounded by a community that cares about their success, their learning, and their well-being. Additionally, our scholars as experts can share resource information with parents and members in their community on LBPL resources. These connections are valuable to show students the variety of agencies and people that make up their community.
Leading beyond the library. The connection to what is happening in our libraries and integration of site and district level initiatives is exciting and invigorating for teacher librarians. These kinds of instructional partnerships raise the viability of librarians at our schools. It is because of the support around us, given by administrators, district and curriculum leaders, and the superintendent, who listen to teacher librarian ideas and promote them, who include TLs in PD and policies, that we have permission and platforms to do amazing things to lead beyond the library. Our TLs design lessons to co-teach and collaborate in LMS and provide support and guidance to teachers, administrators, counselors, and staff. They've been a bridge between curriculum, student engagement, and technology integration in professional development, all the while holding multiple credentials. TLs are well positioned to be at the leading edge of digital transformation of learning. To quote Shayla Brown and SEL Tosa at Lafayette and former first grade teacher at Jackie Robinson, right now we have librarians who are taking up this charge and pioneering ways forward for our schools. Students thrive when they have books they can feel in their soul, when there's a caring adult who sees them and can recommend the perfect author at the perfect time. School librarians make this happen and more. Teacher librarians want to be essential partners in the important work of restoring and reimagining school for Long Beach Unified School District students, teachers, and entire learning community. On behalf of the Long Beach School Librarians Association, we look forward to being strong partners in conversations and decisions of how library programs can support district initiatives and school priorities of the future. Thank you for the opportunity to tell our story.
And thank you. What a wonderful presentation and a wonderful reminder of the vital role teacher librarians play in our school district. We appreciate you so much, and it is nice to see all the different things that are being done for our kids. Did somebody else, it's hard for me to see sometimes on the screen if somebody else had a question or something. So yes, Dr. Benitez.
How do we take you up on the offer to come join you? Who do we contact? How do we make folks aware? I think, I know my colleagues would be interested in this. So how can we be a part of it?
Fantastic. We can send you a link with the scheduled authors that we have, and then you can sign up right through there. So we'll be sure to do that with the different sessions for February 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And thank you, Dr. Benitez, for asking that question, because I had made myself a note and then I forgot to look at the paper. But as soon as that slide came up, it was exciting, because that's one of the things that we love about being involved is reading in front of kids. And even if we have to do it virtually, at least we'll be reading to kids.
Well, we're sure to sign you up for not only the World Read Aloud Day, that's where authors are invited in, to invite you into those sessions, but also we have Read Across America and Career Day. So I see a lot of nods. Be ready for an invitation to link for that. So thank you.
Great. Yes, Ms. Kerr.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you. It's good to have you with us. It's fun to see a different screen with more faces. So welcome to our Zoom. And, you know, you went through, we talked about digital literacy early on when we had to go to distance learning. And I know that that's work that teacher librarians have always done, but it seems you have stepped it up, especially. And in the moment of history that we are in, that idea, those ideas and those lessons that you are teaching our youngest folks are lessons that we know lots of people could have used some instruction in. At this time, in terms of being smart and where do they get their news, and that their digital footprints has consequences, and all of those things are relevant real world things that matter right now, especially as we are distance learning. So thank you for the tremendous effort that you're doing over and above. I know you miss seeing our kids and being in your spaces with them, but I'm so grateful for the work that you're
Okay. Oh, yes, Mr. Otto.
Yeah, thanks for the great presentation. I've been an advisor to the Long Beach Public Library Foundation for a long time now, and I certainly know the role that librarians play in the education of our students. In fact, I was very close friends with Kay Tortorisi, who was the librarian at Poly High School for a long time and did very transformational work there with students and getting the library at that school going and becoming so central to what went on. So I congratulate you on the work that you do, and I'm looking forward to being able to participate on February 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to be a part of the board and present this evening.
Well, thank you for joining us. And if there are no further comments, then we'll move on the agenda. So next we have public testimony on items listed on the agenda.
Yes, we have a couple for agenda items, so they will be played right now.
Hello. My name is Theodore Greer. I am addressing the reopening of school for school-aged children. I've served in the military for 26 years. And in my 26 years, I've seen combat several times. In that time frame, one thing that is always present in our mind, to treat each person the same. We're not going to run into a dangerous situation because we know that there's danger there. So we put controls in place so that we minimize the people that are affected by this danger. In you reopening the schools, you are putting people's life in danger. Right now, California is still one of the states that has the largest number of coronavirus cases. We should learn from Florida. Florida has been going to school now for approximately 6 months. And in the 6 months, the number of children with the coronavirus has risen. This should be an example to us that we should not open the schools and put our teachers and our students' lives in danger. Already, California has no room in the emergency rooms for new cases. We should put that in consensus in our mind also.
This is Susan Garcia. I live in District 3 of Long Beach School Board, and I am a teacher at Powell. I am doing public testimony, agenda item number 22, school reopening update. Let's focus our energy on running our schools. Now that then expending it on how and when to reopen schools during the 2021 school year. Time and energy will be saved and focused on a new type of school. Even with vaccinations, we would have a new norm. Let's charter our course now Use this time to collaborate with full-time classroom teachers randomly selected from across the district. Come up with workable class schedules and expectations. Renew informal meetings with teachers, such as coffees with Chris, but now tea times with Jill, and I'm not just talking about golf. Yes, we are concerned with parents who are leaving or threatening to leave the district, but do not let them dictate your actions. Thank them for being part of this great district. And you understand that they need to take their child elsewhere to learn. Our doors are open. If they would like to return to their Long Beach family, they will be welcomed back. End of conversation. Let's move forward. Let's focus on what is going to be happening for 2021 to 2022 school year, and let's get through with what we're going through now. Have conversations with real teachers. You have surrounded yourself with individuals that are just providing you the same information. Look at your leadership. Make sure you're getting different perspective. A lot of these leaders were selected because they brought their friends along, and so you're just getting one mindset. Expand your scope of perspectives with different teachers, different individuals across the district, so that you have a different perspective. Now is the time to refocus your energies and remember where your heart lies. You can take advice from what others are doing, and you can then set aside and stand up and speak out as a district employee. District directives should be attributed to a specific individual. And it was really sad that we received a memo on last Friday on attendance that had no one assigned to it and no way to reply to it or ask questions. Let's not do this. Let's respect our teachers. If you have a directive for us, let's have a conversation how we can readily do it. None of you have been in the classroom dealing with what we are dealing with. Respect students' time and teacher times. They have been working really hard to do things and get things done. And their platters are full, and to keep on adding things to their platters is not considerate. I appreciate the effort that you guys are doing and doing things, and I hope that you take into account when you're asking us to do things, why are you asking it? Is it to move forward an agenda that you have, or is it really to move forward and assist teachers and students and the whole community, and not just moving forward new actions because it would look nice on your resume? I hope you could consider this. I realize this is an awkward sounding message, and I apologize for that. But thank you for your time, and take care. Bye.
Hello, my name is Jerlene Tatum. I'm an LBUSD parent, and I am speaking on agenda item number 26. Last month, I attended my child's. We reviewed and approved the student plan for student achievement for 2021. Yet I did so with hesitancy because our plan did not have any accommodations for learning loss that have taken place during this pandemic school year, nor did it spoke as if we will be back in the classroom in the fall. I've noticed that over 30 schools, that the school plan for student achievement for over 30 schools will be approved today. Is the assumption that we'll be returning to the classroom? Have those plans been written addressing the effects of the current state pandemic learning is having on our children? I know we've been told that this is a learning document and that it is changeable, but will it be changed? Since this document speaks to how funding is to be allocated across the district, shouldn't it reflect our current realities? Shouldn't it reflect what our reality is going to look like next year due to the effects of this pandemic? Thank you, Jerlene.
Is that all we have? Okay, so that's all we have for on the agenda.
Okay, so next we go to public testimony on items not listed on the agenda.
Hi, I am calling in regards to the CCT program over at the Head Start and CDC programs. And I am one of the 11 returning special ed teachers. I come to you desperate to be heard of how terrified I am of
Good evening. My name is Jessica Wheeler, and I am addressing an item not on the agenda. I am a special education specialist in one of the 11 CCT programs scheduled to open January 19. This concerns me greatly, one, because we are opening in the middle of a pandemic in a time where hospitals are out of capacity and they are opening parking lots to host our patients. I am a teacher, but I am also a mother. My safety and the safety of my family is most important. My only option at this point is to take a leave, but that does not stop the spread of COVID in the programs. If anything, it is harming the children even more, as they would have to have an untrained sub to step in. I have asked multiple staff from different sites to share how they really feel, and safe was not the answer. I truly don't feel that we have sufficient safety measures and protocols to expand the program at this time. Second, I want to bring up the lack of training and support for the CCT teachers to ensure a smooth transition and success. Most of us teachers have not met our co-teachers, but we are expected to return and co-teach the 19th. We are given one day prior to establish relationships, collaborate, plan, learn safety protocols, and prepare. Because special education specialists are going into a state-funded program, we are asking to be trained on licensing mandates and regulations, class and performance standards, ASQs, and curriculums for Head Start. Giving us resources pages and simply saying, ask your co-teacher response is not acceptable. We are going into these programs with students with special needs. We need to know all the procedures and regulations to best meet their needs. I don't have a definite solution, but I do have suggestions that are essential to start the CCT program prepared, safe, and orderly. Shut down the program for in-person, like a surrounded districts have. These programs are federally funded for low-income students, and now for special needs students. It is not for essential working families. Allow this surge of COVID to mellow out. Prioritize the health of all of our staff during this terrifying pandemic. Allow the teachers the opportunity to get vaccinated, both vaccines before reopening. And meanwhile, feed our brains. We are begging for training. I appreciate your time, and I hope that you can hear through these messages my anxiety, my frustration, and my plead for the safety of all involved in this program. Thank you so much for your time.
Hello, I'm an LVUSD parent, employee, and community member. This is a non-agenda item. I come to you today, and it saddens me to come here to speak up against the district that I once loved and trusted. I'm appalled at how the district has treated their students and employees during this pandemic. You sit in that room and boast how great your district is, and you toot your own horns. It is not about you. It is about our students. Your success should be measured by how your at-promise students are doing and how you're treating every employee, not just the ones that are protected by a union. Take a look at how many students are failing right now. Take a look at how many students are isolated daily, and you are doing nothing to help them. The district uses slogans like all means all, you matter, and equity is everything. It is too bad that these are just slogans and are not true practices for the district. Shame on you for treating your non-union employees like their lives don't matter. You have forced these employees to report to work every day, even during the deadliest COVID-19 surges. You pretend that it is safe when it has been proven it is not. You pretend to hear our voices and our concerns. Your action speaks volumes. You allow school nurses to work from home from the comfort and safety of their homes in the middle of the worst mental health and medical health crisis that we have ever seen. You continuously make decisions based on your own personal agenda. How about you try to follow the state and Long Beach Health recommendations, safer at home order? If you can work from home, then do so. All employees can and should be working from home, just as we did in March. I challenge each and every one of you in this room to get up from your chairs and out of your protected bubbles and go into the homes of our struggling students. There are thousands of them. I challenge you to witness firsthand what these families are going through. You need to see with your own eyes that it is not enough to give these students Chromebooks and hotspots and expect them to succeed. These families are in survival mode. These families need support on many levels. These families are living in trauma and fear. You need to give them resources. You need to give them access. Stop just telling them everything is online and online only. Help these families. I challenge you to treat all employees equally with the same dignity and respect that they all deserve. Take a look at the surrounding districts. LAUSD, Bellflower, Unified, and many more all have their employees working from the safety of their own homes. You continue to push and push our students and staff members. The only thing you are doing is pushing us away. I am pulling my children out of this district. The COVID-19 numbers continue to rise because you refuse to help stop the spread. LA County COVID update today stated January is a critical month for action. COVID-19 kills someone on average every 8 minutes. There are outbreaks everywhere, including schools and workplaces. And yes, many in the LBUSD, schools and workplaces. Yet you continue to force principals, school counselors, school psychologists, secretaries, health assistants to report to crowded workspaces every day and shared office spaces, shared restrooms. You're putting their lives at risk and their family lives at risk. I want you to think about that for a moment. At what cost? What are we trying to prove? Help stop the spread, treat everybody equally and fairly. At this moment, hashtag not proud to be LBUSD. Thank you for hearing me.
LBUSD employee, open discussion, items not listed on agenda. Good evening, members of the board. I am an LBUSD employee. I want to address office staff and administrators having the option to work from home. A few months ago, I was mandated to quarantine at home due to a possible COVID exposure on my school campus. I am just one case from many LBUSD employee cases. I know students need us on campus to help with meal distribution, Chromebook and hotspot troubleshooting, and in some instances to conduct home visits. I suggest rotating office staff at school sites so we can reduce the spread of COVID-19. Another suggestion is to close a percentage of schools for a few weeks and only keep a few sites open by region. At the moment, my job is the only place where I am at a daily risk of contracting COVID and possibly spreading it to coworkers and my immediate family. I will never forget the district's response to COVID-19 and the lack of empathy they've had for their employees during this pandemic. Hashtag not proud to be LBUSD. Allow us to work from the safety of our home. Thank you.
Hello, I apologize. I'm using a second message because the first seemed to have gotten cut off. My name is Lenora Villegas, and I am leaving a comment regarding the matter of teachers going back to teach in person. No teacher should be forced to participate in in-person learning, especially when online learning has proven a successful and safe alternative for teachers and students alike. First and foremost, in-person learning is still not safe. COVID-19 has not gone away. In fact, it has only gotten worse, especially in the highly populated California counties. COVID is just as dangerous as it was before, and any action in forcing teachers to go back to in-person learning is a reckless disregard for their health and safety, as well as the students. The CDC guidelines for safe in-person learning require that all adults and students wear masks, citing the fact that not all children will be able to do this and as such may not be able to participate in in-person learning. It is too much to expect such young children to be able to keep their masks on at all times and practice social distancing. And it is criminally endangering to the teachers to expect them to be the ones to implement these rules on the students, putting all parties at risk. Furthermore, it seems that the K through 12 teachers are being requested to continue doing an online learning and not go to the school as much as possible. But a select group of teachers are being asked to try out in-person learning and are not given a choice. We are asking that you give all teachers the availability and option to continue their online learning to keep them safe and to give them the choice that they need. We thank you for your time and hearing this comment, and we hope that you will take our comments into consideration. Thank you very much.
Yes, hi, good morning. My name is Lena Chom. This item is not on the agenda. I am one of the 11 returning special ed teachers to the CCT program over at the Head Start, and I come to you desperate to be heard of how terrified I am of my life having to return in person on January 19th without reassurance that I won't get affected with this deadly virus. I understand that there's one silver suit, but I must ask, how does one override the well-being of 11 teachers and aides and those of Head Start and CDCs? Our city continues to be in a purple tier. Emergency rooms are overflowed, and vaccines are not distributed by the district until January 25th, if so. But then we must return on the 19th. Again, I am very terrified. The health department has lowered the numbers to 14 capacity in the classroom, but that's 14 too many. Head Start and CCT will be running on an AM and a PM schedule, so that's double the exposure on a daily basis. I am a mother of 2 children, and unfortunately, my youngest does have asthma, and the flu season is always rough for us. I pray that I do not bring this home to my own family. I'm sure you're aware that Buffalo Proper was forced to shut down 2 days prior to our winter break because there were more than 4 confirmed cases of COVID, and my very close colleague is still recovering to this day. Buffalo does not have any students in person, and it runs on a pretty good COVID protocol. You know, there's only 1 to 2 teachers in the classroom, masks are being worn, temperatures being taken at check-in and so forth. Yet they had cases all around the same time, which makes me terrified how fast this virus can spread without knowing. I just can't imagine the domino effect with 28 people in a day's worth. I know that students learn best from in person, but I just want to feel safe. And right now the data does not show it. I feel that we are being rushed into this and our well-being is not being considered. I really hope that we continue to be online until things calm down. I thank you for your time. Bye-bye.
I'm an employee, parent, and community member of the LVUSD. This is a non-agenda item. I'm extremely disappointed in how the district is treating their employees. We are being told that all our voices matter and all matter, but the actions of the district have shown otherwise. The inconsistencies are unbelievable. Nurses, because they are protected by the teachers union, are given the flexibility of working from home, while the health assistants are not given the same flexibility to work safely from home. Does this make any sense? The health assistants work 3.48 hours and are a classification that works directly with students. With no students or nurses on campus, why are the health assistants not given the same flexibility? Does the health and safety of their lives not matter? Why are some classifications being allowed to work at one school site while others have to report to multiple school sites and continue to have to do so? We are not even seeing our own family members and friends to minimize the risk of exposure, yet the district continues to have some of its classified employees, such as health assistants, report to multiple school sites to be exposed to multiple staff members. Does this make any sense to you? You say you're following the CDC and the Long Beach Health Department guidelines, Well, going to multiple school sites with no students on campus increases risks for all. We are in a pandemic, people, with numbers that continue to increase daily. These times should call for flexibility for all staff, regardless if they are protected by a union or not. The latest Safer at Home Act now states that anyone, including those that are considered essential workers, that can work from home safely, should do so. Yet our district continues to ignore these orders and put their employees and communities at risk. You, LBUSD, are contributing to these increasing positive COVID numbers and the extreme burden on our local hospitals. The morale is down, your employees don't feel heard or cared for, all because you guys choose to do so. You have record numbers of people taking medical leaves and doing what they need to do to protect their own health and those of their families because you choose not to. It is a sad and disappointing time to be an LBUSD employee. Thank you for your time.
Hello, I am addressing the item that is not listed on the agenda, the CCT program, that is the Collaborative Co-Teach program. I am a special education preschool teacher who is assigned to the Collaborative Co-Teach program at the Holmes CDC. There are 11 preschool teachers who are in this assignment, 6 CDC and 5 Head Start. I am concerned because the daily new cases of COVID-19 and fatalities are higher than they were when the entire district was closed back on March 13, 2020. I'm concerned about how I will be able to follow the district's recommendations on keeping staff safe, such as only one person is in a room at a time, using phone calls and emails to communicate rather than face-to-face, when I am in a setting with multiple adults in the classroom at the same time. I am concerned because the coronavirus has proved to be quite selective in who becomes extremely ill, who is left with lingering problems post-recovery, who recovers relatively quickly and easily, and who dies. I am concerned because I am not sure how well the other adults in the classroom that would be with me at the CDC are socially distancing, especially after an email received from the CDC director. I am concerned because parents have to choose between ensuring their little ones are safe and healthy and keeping the teacher their child has become accustomed to and comfortable with. I am concerned because of the interruption in learning this will cause for the students whose parents choose to remain online, as a new teacher will be assigned to those students. I am concerned because of the laissez-faire attitude demonstrated to families that their kids will bounce back from this huge change their child will experience if their parents choose to remain online. I am concerned because only 2 of my families have decided to return to in-person teaching. All of my students need and deserve a seamless educational experience in order to thrive. I am concerned because a half-day program doesn't appear as though it would serve the essential worker parents. Wouldn't those parents need a full-day program to cover their 8-hour workday? I truly feel it would be in the best interest of all to protect your employees and close down at least the half-day program at the CDC and Head Start until such a time when all can return safely. Remember, all is supposed to mean all. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Christopher Villegas. I'm calling in regards to the teachers being sent back to school instead of online learning when COVID is still very much a present danger to both students and the teachers that have to teach them. It seems like they are going back really quickly when it seems like the cases are getting more and more severe every day. And I think that only some of the teachers are being asked to go back and not all of the teachers, which is, I mean, at least in my opinion, it's a kind of a bit of a discrimination. If all teachers, or if at least the K through 12 teachers are not required to go back to in-person learning, then why are our special education preschool teachers and Head Start teachers having to go back to in-person learning? These kids need special attention and need even more, attention from all the different people that they can't get that same kind of experience with in-person learning. I mean, you're talking about no aides being there. You're talking about the assistants having to be in the same room. it gets too many people in such a tight little room, not to mention the fact that they'll be required to wear masks. And most adults, let alone teens and young kids, don't want to wear the masks while sitting inside of a confined space. So it's going to be really hard for these teachers to manage. So for the safety of both our teachers and the future generations of our country, I strongly suggest that you guys do not have the teachers go back to in-person learning until this COVID spread has subsided. Thank you very much for hearing me out. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.
I'm Dr. Christine Kelly, President of the Teachers Association of Long Beach. Good evening, board members and executive staff. I'm addressing the issue of opening the collaborative co-teaching program next week in the midst of the surge of COVID-19 infections. Now that school districts are testing students, we have a better idea of what part children play in this pandemic. LA Unified did open for 4,000 students, only to shut down again because of the increase in cases. It turns out that most of the children tested at schools in LA Unified showed no symptoms. However, out of 525,486 students tested, 57,208 were positive. I applaud your decision to mandate mask wearing and prohibit large gatherings at school sites, but that is exactly what opening this program will involve. Multiple support people, 2 teachers, and students who may have issues that make it impossible for them to wear masks. Many of these students have medical conditions as well. We are currently in the midst of a serious surge of COVID-19 cases. Memorial Hospital is treating patients in the parking garage. There are wait times of up to 20 hours in the emergency room. There's talk of rationing care. People need to stay home, not driving people to school, getting gas, or picking up dry cleaning. They need to isolate and stay within their bubble if we're ever going to get control of this virus. Our infection rates are soaring, and we have had cases in most of our CDC and Head Start sites, but vaccinations are on the horizon. Protect our teachers, staff, and families. Close Head Start and CDC sites. Postpone opening the CCT program until the surge calms down and we can get our teachers and staff vaccinated. The sooner we can do this, the sooner we can get back to our new normal. Remember your slogan to go slow, to go fast? That's what we need to do here. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Larita Greer Brown. I want to address CCT program and the desire for the district for it to start teaching live in person special education students. Thank you for taking time to listen to my concerns. I am concerned about being forced to work with students in person versus continue to teach them virtually, which will possibly cause me to catch the virus and die or recover, but have lingering side effects. In November, I went to Texas. Usually when I go to Texas, it is to enjoy reuniting with family. This visit was not to enjoy family and say, see you next year. This visit was to say goodbye forever. I experienced 3 family members' funerals in less than a month, and all dying from COVID-19. Now, not only did I suffer from this loss, but so did my family members that are still alive. Watching some of them stay in bed, unwilling to get up, or hearing them cry was and still is hurting my heart. I am trying to be strong for them. I am trying to provide them with what they need to recover from this loss. Now I am being told that Long Beach Unified School District leadership wants me to teach in person and potentially catch the virus. Wow. Will I catch it and die? Will I catch it and have lingering side effects? Will my family now have to suffer with me not helping them, but them trying to survive without me, or start trying to help me? This is not fair, people. All you need to do is look at what the superintendent of Los Angeles Unified School District is doing. Close Long Beach down until we are not in the monkey green or purple danger zones. Please change from caring for only TK to 12th grade teachers, please show that you care for all teachers. Did I say all? Yes, I said all. And of course, all means all. Thank you.
My name is Amy Iwasaki, and I am a special education teacher at Buffalo TLC. I would like to address an issue that is not listed on the agenda. It has been announced that special education teachers will be returning to in-person teaching on January 19th in the Head Start and CDC programs. I would like to show my support for my fellow colleagues and ask the Board of Education to postpone the opening of the Collaborative Co-Teach program. I am a teacher who has chosen to work from my school site, and I do feel very safe with the procedures that have been put in place so far. We are screened daily, we practice social distancing, and we minimize the number of adults in the classroom, where there's currently only 2 adults in one classroom. Yet, I was exposed to COVID-19 and our school was closed due to the number of cases that arose. My fear for my colleagues is that with the increased number of adults that are working together in one classroom, there may be a higher chance of contracting COVID-19. Until the COVID-19 numbers decrease, I do not feel that my friends and colleagues will be in a safe environment to work successfully with their students. Until there's a safe plan for these teachers, I am asking the Board of Education to help postpone the opening of the CCT program. Thank you.
Hello there. My name is Virginia Commenda, and I'm addressing a topic that is not on the agenda for this meeting. I would like to request that the board can
Candace Cook, items not listed on the agenda. My name is Candace Cook, and I am one of the 11 CCT teachers that are being mandated to return to work on Tuesday, January 19th. I am also, like so many, someone who has lost a close family member due to the COVID-19 pandemic. With that said, I'm reaching out to you, the Board of Education, to please consider postponing the opening of the CCT program. I'm not asking for a permanent postponement, but at least postponing the program until we have the chance to vaccinate ourselves. It seems absurd to be sending us back when the numbers are not decreasing, but increasing. You're asking me and my coworkers to put our lives, the lives of our families, and our students' families at risk, even with a vaccine being offered in weeks to come. Now that the district has been given a date of January 25th for teachers to receive the COVID-19 vaccine, I feel that it's only right to wait. Give those teachers who want to be vaccinated a chance to do so before sending them into the classroom with students. I'm not sure if you are aware of the amount of individuals that we are being asked to come in contact with on a daily basis. Head Start works on an AM/PM Monday, Tuesday, an AM/PM Thursday, Friday hybrid model, which allows for 14 individuals, students and teachers, during both sessions. That's 28 individuals on Monday, Tuesday, and then another set of 28 individuals on Thursday, Friday. Not to mention parents, bus drivers, service providers, etc., that we will be coming in contact with. All I'm asking is that you allow us the chance to protect ourselves, feel safe when coming back into the classroom, vaccinated. Please take my call in consideration, and please try and wait for the vaccines to come out and allow us to come in feeling safe. Thank you for your time.
Hello, my name is Jacqueline, and I am a teacher in Long Beach Unified School District. I'm calling today to talk about an item not listed on the agenda, which is the opening of the CCT program next week. Some of our staff members were notified that they will have to begin in-person instruction on January 19th as part of the Preschool Collaborative Co-Teaching Program, or CCT program. It was surprising that they are being asked to teach in person since Los Angeles County was still in the purple tier, with COVID cases on the rise and hospitals being overwhelmed and over capacity. In December, we were reminded about safety protocols, and our site was making sure that we were at least 1 or 2 people in a classroom to prevent the spread of the virus. During the week of December 14th, our school site was beginning to report positive COVID cases, which required our site to close on December 17th and 18th. In addition to the school closure, I received notification that I was possibly exposed, so I had to take extra precautions at home with my family until I could get a COVID test. Now we have even stricter protocols at our site, which include eating by ourselves, staying in our classrooms as much as possible, and consider working from home every day. My colleagues who were sick spent winter break recovering from the virus, and one of my colleagues who I've known for almost 20 years is still recovering to this day. The CCT teachers are being asked to teach in person full day with AM/PM shifts 4 days a week with 1 day of virtual instruction, which is different than the proposed hybrid schedule that was outlined in August. The CCT classrooms will ultimately be exposed to at least 28 adults and students each day. How can our school site have so many restrictions while at the same time require our CCT teachers to start in person without the same safety protocols? Our students have a distance learning plan of virtual instruction, which is used in states of emergency like the global pandemic, that outlines virtual instruction until schools are safe to reopen. I am asking the board to please consider postponing opening the CCT program for now. We are so close to getting vaccinated and slowing the spread of the virus. What is the rush to open these classes next week? Our students and families have been through so much. The only constant right now is the teacher who has virtually seen them every day since August. Thank you.
My name is Anna Glico, and I'm a teacher at Buffum. I'm addressing item not on the agenda, the start of the CCT in-person teaching on Tuesday, January 19th. I'm calling to give my support to my friends, colleagues, and families who will be affected by this in-person opening. I wanted to give attention to the domino effect this will have to the parents of those who are in the all virtual learning setting. The parents of the CCT students who have chosen to stay virtual will now have a different teacher, which will come from 2 teachers from Buffum and 1 long-term sub. As a domino effect, 2 Buffum class will also be reassigned, pushing those students to have a new teacher. This is affecting a conservative number of 50 students and their families. The relationship between a student, teacher, and family is key to help students learn and grow. It has always been the best practice for learners to have consistency and routine. And this sentiment is even more important during the pandemic. However, we are asking a group of students and family to choose between staying at home or lose the teacher they've known since the beginning of the pandemic. Again, causing a domino effect with the Buffum students who will lose their teacher as well. There has to be a less disruptive and organized way to do this program. I hope the board will consider postponing the opening of in-person teaching for safety and consideration of those being affected.
Hi, my name is Millie Ampudia, and I would like this comment to be read at the January 13th board meeting at 5 o'clock open session under items not listed on the agenda. I would like to request that school counselors have an option to work from home. I've been exposed to 2 active COVID cases at my site and unfortunately had to use my sick time to be in quarantine, which I don't think is fair. It's not safe for us to come to work at this point since we're experiencing a surge in cases. We haven't given the directive to not eat lunch with anyone on campus or have in-person meetings. So basically I'm working in isolation when I could be safely working from home until this pandemic subsides. I again respectfully ask that we are given the option to work from home. Thank you.
Madam President, that is the 30 minutes of public testimony.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on to our next item on the agenda, which is the staff report. So we will go to Yumi.
Good evening, board members, executive staff, and members of the community. Renee Arcus and I are very pleased to present to you information provided in the governor's proposed budget that was just released last Friday. This is the governor's first proposal on the budget to the state legislature, and this essentially kicks off the budget deliberations at the state level. And we can say that the budget proposed by the governor exceeded expectations. We all know about and perhaps have felt the economic fallout resulting from the pandemic, but the state budget proposal recognizes higher than expected revenues last year and projects a sustained recovery going into next year. So the budget proposes a 3.84% cost of living allowance, which is an increase of per student funding year over year. So you'll remember for this fiscal year, 2021, we received a 0% cost of living allowance. And we're even faced with the governor's proposal before that of a 10% reduction to the local control funding formula, which is our main unrestricted funding source. So this is a big departure from where we have been. The governor also proposed one-time funding of approximately $4.6 billion to mitigate learning loss and to provide interventions for our low-income English language learner students, foster and homeless youth. So we anxiously await details on that proposal. The governor also proposed a significant reduction to the cash deferrals that were implemented for 2021, about a 2/3 reduction of the deferrals. And deferrals are essentially an IOU issued to school districts, basically saying you can spend the money, but we're not going to pay you on our regular payment schedule. We're going to give you the cash later, either later this fiscal year, or we're going to push the cash payments into the next fiscal year. So this proposal really assists us in our cash position, and we don't have to float money from our own reserves in order to pay our expenses. So this additional funding would assist us in addressing our structural budget deficit. As we look into the future, we foresee rising expenses and a continued decline in enrollment. We've had a steady march downward over the past decade of enrollment of approximately 2% annually. We experienced a 3% reduction this year, and we don't foresee the enrollment decline abating or even flattening, but we'll wait to see as our students come back. Of course, additional funding to address the significant needs of our students, of our neediest students, is certainly welcome with this $4.6 billion for learning loss and interventions. So the 21-22 budget really has a long journey ahead of it before it's finalized. So we will wait to see, and we will wait word on whether the budget projections actually materialize. And of course, be very tuned into the budget deliberations occurring at the state. The governor will also present a revised budget. We call that the May revise in the May timeframe, and we'll certainly keep the board and public updated as we hear news and further developments occur. The governor's budget also referenced the second tranche of federal funding from the second relief package. You may remember that the first relief package provided a significant amount of funding to school districts to address the significant costs related to the pandemic. So I'm really happy to have Renee here to discuss our spending of the first relief package, and we anxiously await the definitive amount of money we're getting in the second relief package. So I will hand it over to Renee at this point. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yumi, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to update you on the CARES Act funding for our school district. The great news is that we have our most up-to-date CARES Act plan on the district website under the letter B for budget documents. Tonight, I'm just going to share a little bit of information about where we stand currently. The federal and state government have provided LBUSD approximately $90 million in CARES Act funding. To date, we have spent or encumbered about 75% of that funding towards many different activities. The largest portion has been spent on securing and distributing technology, hotspots, and technological services. In addition, we have provided and are continuing to provide professional development, interventions, a new learning management system, social emotional support for students, and purchases for distance and eventual in-person instruction. Besides that, we've continued to provide meals to our students through our financial support of the Nutrition Services Branch, also utilizing our CARES Act funding. Finally, we've spent or plan to spend these funds on PPE, custodial support, and preparing for school reopening. The majority of these funds, about $56 million, were slated to expire in December 30th of 2020. While the federal government has provided an extension to December of 2021, the state of California is looking to have those funds spent by May. Not to worry, we are on course to utilize those funds to support all the things that I just mentioned and continue to utilize the remaining CARES Act funds before their expiration. Just recently, as Yumi's mentioned, we're awaiting further information on the December 2020 federal government apprised us of additional funds for CARES Act. While we await additional information regarding expenditure timeframes, amounts, and how we're going to be able to spend those funds, we will continue to keep you updated as those details become available, and we'll continue to update our plan online so our community members are also aware of how we're going to utilize those funds.
Thank you, Renee. So as you just mentioned, that information is online on the money we've already spent.
On the money, our plan. So our entire plan is online on how we anticipate spending the money. And it's available under, again, B, under budget documents. It's the very last, it's CARES Act plan.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to check here and see if we have any questions from our board member. Dr. Benitez.
Madam Chair, I just want to share that I'll hold off my question because I think budget and our reopening schools report go hand in hand. I don't want folks to think just because we have additional funding or some relief funding that's in a vacuum, right? That it's in connection to our current education plan, remote education plan, but that's very closely tied to the reopening of schools conversation. So I'll hold off on my budget questions so that there can be a context there with what we hear from regarding our reopening of schools.
Fair enough. Ms. Kerr.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify with Yumi just for everyone's, so when we hear more money, we always say, yay, more money. We are talking, the governor's plan is talking about the 21-22 school year. So this is the state budget that doesn't get signed until June. So the additional funding, the increase in COLA, the one-time money for learning loss, and the reduction in deferrals, that's all not set in stone until something is signed in June. Correct?
Correct.
So the legislature has a chance to come back now to the governor and say, yeah, that's a great plan, but we have these ideas. So the negotiation starts on all of that money that you just talked about that we look forward to an increase in is money for next year, not money for the current year, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I agree that the conversation around budget for this year is tied into school reopening, but I just wanted to make sure everybody was clear that as we're talking about the governor's money that he's speaking of, that is future money, not impacting us today. But Renee's plan is money that we have in hand, that we have that document online for everybody to see, It's the plan that we said, this is what we need to use the money for, to work in distance learning, provide meals, technology this year. So those are two different time frames of money. So I just wanted to make sure that that was clear for folks.
That's correct.
And Ms. Kerr, the document that's online is actually a tracker. And so Renee will update it when additional CARES funds are spent. So it's really basically a just-in-time document that reflects all the CARES fund that has been spent to date, and then will be updated with future spending.
And will we have a separate document for additional CARES money that just got passed a couple of weeks ago, or will we fold that into this document?
Renee, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, I'd like to see more about how they allocate those funds, because if they're allocated in the same format, we might be using, so it'll be a wait and see. The more information we get about the funding, the better we'll be able to provide plans, tracking, and future thoughts on the money.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'm just checking to see if we have any further questions. Budget related. Okay. Then we will move to the next item, which is school reopening. Dr. Baker.
Thank you, Mrs. Craighead. So tonight is a continuing conversation and opportunity for us to provide you an update since the last board meeting on December 15th on several aspects of our efforts to reopen schools. This is now a standing item on the agenda, so our public and our Board of Education have an opportunity just to hear whether there are several things to update on, whether there are big details or little details. It's an opportunity for us to keep everyone in the community apprised. And tonight's information will be followed by a Friday community message that communicates the same information for those who aren't watching tonight or appreciate receiving the information in print or in video format. So everything that's going to be shared tonight will also be shared on Friday. And in that continuing conversation, I'd like to start just with a reminder as to what we shared in December. So in December, our focus was on two aspects of our reopening of schools effort. The first was to remind the public and our Board of Education what was allowable at that time and our ongoing efforts to phase students back in. The things that were allowable in December continue to be allowable at this time. That includes childcare, preschool, and in-person assessments. So we've heard much public comment tonight about those childcare services in preschool. I want to acknowledge that we have had teachers working across the district, support staff, principals, classroom supporters, and instructional aides working with students since August. We have approximately 1,700 students right now that are either in a kids club, a CDC, or a Head Start childcare setting who are receiving services, most of whom are there because their parents are essential workers. And so this is a way that we can support families in the community who need the services to be able to go to work. And I also just want to thank the staff that has been working tirelessly with students. There have been many challenges, and the health and safety has been of utmost importance to us. We have implemented every single thing that we could to keep students and teachers safe, and we have responded appropriately. We have done contact tracing and actively pursued any reports of COVID that have been brought to our attention. And I want to thank the staff who works on that every single day to ensure that we address concerns and reports of COVID and take action on those reports. Since December 15th, I have a few updates, and then I'll be passing to Dr. Brown, who will discuss some health and safety issues that go with my updates. So during our winter break, the second week of winter break to be exact, on December 30th, Governor Newsom announced a new plan called the Safe Schools for All Plan. It was his effort to encourage teachers to come back and students to come back into school buildings for in-person instruction. And it's based on 4 pillars. Those pillars are additional funding, which is an incentive to bring teachers and students back into school buildings. The second pillar is safety and mitigation that includes PPE and testing. The third is an offer of oversight and support from the state. And lastly, transparency and accountability, that the state plans to have a dashboard that they use for the public to access additional information about COVID cases. So for us, what does that mean? In addition to everything that we've already done to prepare students to come back, it means that we need to look at the issue of testing. We do not currently have testing in our schools. And so one of the things that's being looked into right now is what it would look like to actually have testing in every campus that is operating in person. The financial incentive, we have many of the materials that would be used to purchase that with the financial incentive. And so for us, the financial incentive is probably not the primary thing that would be helpful to us in thinking about this Safe Schools for All plan. In the Safe Schools for All plan, as I mentioned, there is testing required for both students and adults, and it depends on the case rate how often that testing is done. That requires an infrastructure in every school building to administer those tests. And as the state has talked about, they have contracted with a provider that will actually read the tests and provide the information back to the school district on the tests, but the infrastructure for testing lies at the district level and as the district's responsibility. And lastly, the Safe Schools for All plan requires that any district that wants to apply for those funds has a labor agreement with their teachers association and other labor partners. And even in our case, we have an existing MOU with our teachers union. It would require an additional memorandum of understanding with our teachers association. The case rate has been adjusted in the governor's plan, the Safe Schools for All plan. The adjusted COVID case rate has been moved to a 28 positive tests per 100,000 for in-person instruction. And I just want to call attention to that because that's very different than what we've heard from the state prior to this point. So we started with the level of 7 cases per 100,000. The state has moved to feeling that elementary students from a health and safety perspective that at a 28 positive tests per 100,000 is at a safe level. And I will cite that currently the city of Long Beach hovers around 100 cases per 100,000 people. So at this time, we will continue to investigate the costs and the infrastructure needed for setting up testing centers. We're looking at a way to pilot, and you'll hear Dr. Brown talk about that. We are actively, in fact, tomorrow, parents will receive, elementary parents to be specific, will receive information about a survey that's coming to them. The first thing that they'll receive is information about the survey and what the choices are, with some images of classrooms and a way to think about the survey that's coming. And then they will receive a survey that asks them, if we are able to reopen elementary schools, do they want their student to return to in-person learning, or do they want them to stay in distance learning? That data will be really important for our planning and thinking about how we move forward. In the meantime, we continue to prepare schools for when students are allowed to return. Our schools have been prepared for months, but that takes a refresh to our programs. It takes walking back through classrooms, ensuring that we have done every single thing that we can to be ready for students' return when that is allowable. And then lastly, in addition to the governor's Safe Schools for All plan, while it has been suspended currently, we will continue to think about the opportunity for a smaller scale waiver process with our city that would allow us to phase students back in at a slower rate and in smaller groups than what the Safe Schools for All plan that the governor has released is aimed at doing. And while that's currently suspended, we know that when the case rates of COVID decline in our city, that we expect that that process will be re-released. And so I'm going to turn over to Dr. Brown to address some of the health and safety aspects of our ongoing efforts to reopen schools.
There, I do it at least once a meeting. Good evening. Thanks, Dr. Baker.
In talking about the health and safety updates, I'll start with one of the more hopeful pieces of information we've received in this long stretch, and that's been in partnership with the Long Beach Health Department and the vaccination program that has been planned. So we continue to be extremely grateful to all of our partners at the Long Beach Health Department. They have been working tirelessly in this pandemic, and more specifically in the development and oversight of the vaccination program that has already begun for essential workers in the city, and tentatively beginning the week of January 25th will be available to our employees. So as has been communicated in our school informational bulletin and through some of the local media sources, I just want to reiterate that Tuesday, January 19th, we are very hopeful to be able to roll out more specific information about the vaccination opportunity that will be available for employees beginning that week of January 25th. The reason for the delay is that we want to follow the leadership of the city, since they are the overseer of the program. We want to ensure that we have the number of vaccinations available that have been projected, and we want to make sure that we have all the fine points available for our employees so that they can begin to seek appointments. So know that more is to come at the beginning of next week, and that we continue to be really excited by the opportunity and encouraged about something that feels like a next step or a not been tried before step. I also want to just preliminarily thank our school nurses who are joining the vaccination team and partnering alongside the Long Beach Health Department. It feels like a full circle moment to have our school nurses, our employees, vaccinating our employees. So I just really want to send from the executive team, and I hope I can speak on behalf of the board, gratitude for our school nurses, who some of whom received their first vaccination today so that they can be prepared as they begin to vaccinate others. Additionally, in terms of health and safety updates, as Dr. Baker mentioned, we have had a health and operations committee that's been working intensely since the early parts of summer to be ready to open our buildings. We continue to be ready to open our buildings. I'll say again, we have the PPE that we need. We've had that for a long time. So the idea that we're receiving additional funds potentially for PPE is not necessary in our case. We've been prepared since the early months of summer. We have also been working to have practices around health screenings, which our employees have experienced daily as they've entered our facilities. We've worked with schools to have a set of checklists and guidelines that need to be in place as they plan for the arrival of students when that is allowable. We have continued to have sanitation practices and cleaning practices that are in place. Schools have worked on circumstances around parent drop-off and parent pickup. So I just want to reiterate that our schools continue to be ready to receive students, and that the guidance to our schools at all levels has been that we want our schools to present as if students were coming tomorrow, with the idea that while they're not coming tomorrow, we welcome them on the day that it is allowable. And then just to reiterate, because much of what I've just said or Dr. Baker has just said related to health and safety preparedness has been said before. And I just really want to acknowledge the emotional component of how saying that a situation is safe and perceiving that it's safe can be very different things. And so as we go forward, we want to continue to receive input from employees around circumstances that they experience that might not feel safe for them, so that we can continue to better our practices. We want to hear from employees who have concerns about what might be an issue for them. And we want to use that feedback to plan going forward, recognizing that the many things that we have done and will continue to do around health and human safety may still leave people feeling concerned about their health. We acknowledge that, and we want to do the very best that we can do to honor those feelings through our practices. So with that, we welcome any questions that you have about anything we've said or anything that you wish we would have said.
Well, I know Dr. Benitez has a question because he's been saving it from the budget presentation. So we'll start with Dr. Benitez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I actually do have a question, but I want to also reiterate some additional context, right? Some of that's been shared today. Some of it has been shared in the last 6 months. But I think it's important, right? Given that we don't have another board meeting scheduled until February. I want to preface my question first with, anyone that's been watching our school board meetings or has heard my comments would know that I don't have any extreme urgency personally in bringing back students or staff in person until it's safe to do so. And given the surge, not just in cases, but in deaths, I think it's important to highlight that as I ask my question, right, that this should come as no surprise to anyone that's been sort of watching our school board meetings and listening. So my question is really broad, but I'll apply it to the context of our CDC and Head Start and Kids Club. And Dr. Baker and Dr. Brown, thank you so much for sharing the additional updates today. So I guess the question is, I'll make it simple. Under what considerations, given the current surge in COVID cases and deaths, would we make a decision to close for those 1,700 students that we have right now in person? So I'll start with that, and then I have some thoughts that I'd like to share.
Thank you for the question, Dr. Benitez. It gives us opportunity to further talk about something that has weighed very heavily on us in our decision making. And even this week, at the beginning of the week, we sent a letter to the families who have students in CDC, Head Start, and Kids Club, letting them know that while it is our great hope that we will be able to remain open, we have concern, and we want to acknowledge that we recognize the need for childcare is ever present for the essential workers and the families that are sending their children to these programs currently. But right now we are continuing to monitor via the COVID dashboard and the cases that are coming in. And we are looking at a couple of factors. One, the case rate within those programs. Two, our ability to staff those programs, which has been a challenge. The need to quarantine classes because of case exposures, and balancing those out with the idea that our focus is to continue to provide that very essential service for those essential workers. And so during the weekend, when we were wrestling through some of those decisions, one of the ways that we spoke about it was that if we are able to fully run half of the programs, meaning we don't have more than half of programs closed, it's something that we feel strongly that we need to continue, and we've kind of agreed to allow that to be our tipping point. Recognizing that every class that we can open means that a family can go to work who doesn't have another option for care, and that is really the decision point that we're using. The other thing that we're using is that we continue to see that our children in those programs are safe, and that the exposure that we have, COVID related, is primarily, and I mean majority, driven by adults. And so recognizing that we encourage staff to be safe in the rest of their life and in the practices that they use at work continues to be something that's very important.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. I appreciate that. And so I want to address sort of the comments that Dr. Baker made regarding the governor's plan to reopen up schools. And I want to, again, preface it by saying, if anyone's been paying attention, that sadly but true, the disproportionate impact of COVID and deaths have been in the communities that I'm serving, right? In low income, dense, renter, immigrant, not native speaking communities, and communities of color. particularly our Black and Latinx community. So I want to share just a couple of thoughts, and it highlights the points that you and Dr. Baker already made. That the reopening of schools, unfortunately, is one of the contentious issues that we have right now in our district. We've heard loud and clear from parents, from students, from community members, from staff, from teachers, right? What their feelings are, passionate and heartfelt feelings. But that the governor's plan to reopen schools is going to take more than just money. And money is absolutely necessary, but it's insufficient, right, at this point, given the disproportionate impact that it has on our low income. All of the schools in my area are in low income neighborhoods. The 8 elementary schools that I have are in some of the highest poverty neighborhoods in our city. And that's not to trivialize or minimize the experiences across our great district. I'm just speaking right now, reality in the part of town that I'm representing. And so when we hear about and know about, because of our transparency, that we've had new cases at 16 different sites in the last week, that scares people, right? The community members that I've spoken to, mostly, but not exclusively Spanish-speaking community members, are scared, and many of them have students with disabilities, but they are worried and scared because what we're hearing, what we're seeing, what we're reading highlights that our hospitals are at and sometimes over capacity, our ICUs are at and sometimes over capacity, and so a governor plan to reopen schools is interpreted differently by different segments of our community. Right, and the information that we're sharing at our school board meetings also is interpreted differently. So we understand that the population, the families that we're serving through our early care and education efforts are providing for many families the only option, right, for childcare and education. And these are our essential workers, but they're also our families that for their immigrant status have been in the shadows, and those shadows have casted an even broader darkness in our communities at this time. The coordination and logistics that both Dr. Brown and Dr. Baker have alluded to, and they've been brought up, yes, the money is necessary, right? So appreciate Yumi and Renee, but everything from the testing that was highlighted, right, to what this looks like. Some parents may think, oh, coming back in school is going to be just like it was 11 months ago. And that's not what being in person is going to look like, right? And here I'm speaking to those parents and community members that are demanding, that have been demanding, and it's their right to reopen up schools. But it's not going to be the same that it was 11 months ago, and that thoughtfulness and strategic thinking, but also concrete steps have to be taken. I've used the analogy of waving a magic wand. Just because we have a plan, just because we have money, you have to operationalize that, right? So if we don't have capacity, these tests cost money, right? So imagine testing at whatever it is, $55 or $75 every week, thousands of individuals, right? We're talking about millions of dollars, yes, on the money side, but also the coordination of testing and vaccinating thousands of individuals on an ongoing basis. That's not something that's a 2-week turnaround or a 3-week turnaround or even a March 1st turnaround. So that's why I've been really emphasizing not just the public health crisis that we're facing, but that implementing and operationalizing a reopening up of schools, as you both have eloquently stated, Dr. Brown and Dr. Baker, it takes so much more than our will to want to open up schools. And I shouldn't say open up, to want to have in-person, right, face-to-face communication and interaction. So I just always feel compelled in these moments. And folks are going to disagree, and I'm sorry about that. To be mindful that these decisions are being made through the equity lens that we lead to. I heard that word again tossed around today, and that unfortunately, the hardest hit community members are students with disabilities, our students of color, our low-income students, our foster students, are completely dependent on decisions that are being made that impact theirs and their families' daily lives, but that have long-term consequences as well. So wherever folks fall on the urgency to want to open up or not, we have the biggest surge that we've had in this pandemic, and we can have everything in place to assure and ensure people's safeties, but there's still a lot of fear, a lot of distrust, a lot of concern that I think we should continue to be mindful of, and hence that's why I asked the question: what would we consider, right, to close down, given the context, but also to use that as an illustrated example of it's not just about saying March 1st or February or whatever that date is. And I know that none of our staff approach it that way, but many of our community members may feel, right, that, you know, that these are just moving targets that we're putting up. So I apologize for the length of my comments for that one, but I've been saving it, Madam President. And I hope that it's taken in the spirit of the will to want to return students in person, but that it's much more than that that's needed. The desire is there, the will is there, all of us are concerned, but we have instruction going on right now online and remotely, and we've spent a lot of energy, time, and resources to try and get that right. Right, so it's not just like, okay, let's just shut down the online platform and curriculum and instruction that's going on and then return to school in 2 weeks. So I'll pause there. I'll save some of my last comments for my board member report, Madam President.
Dr. Benitez, before we go to other questions, I do want to reiterate, many of the public will know this because it was newsworthy over the last couple of weeks, but along with 6 other urban school districts from across the state of California, Sacramento City, Fresno Unified, Oakland Unified, San Diego Unified, San Francisco Unified, Los Angeles Unified. We sent a 6-page letter to the governor's office and subsequently had a meeting with the governor's staff to reiterate the difference between a philosophical plan and the implementation or operationalizing of an actual plan and what that looks like. And just to give you an example, the plan that was put out had a requirement of submission of a plan and a memorandum of understanding by February 1st to obtain the highest level of incentive funding, which you can imagine between December 30th and February 1st, how that was going to disadvantage the large urban districts in the state of California, most notably. We also continued to advocate for a consistent standard across the state. And we provided some detail about that we can have districts in San Francisco and in Oakland, schools across the street from each other that are in different districts, and without a consistent standard that's implemented from the state's level, that is problematic for us. It's true for us with Los Angeles Unified. It's true for us when we look at Orange County. We have schools in Long Beach Unified where students could live in a Long Beach Unified neighborhood and walk to a neighboring school district. And without that consistent standard and the implementation of that consistent standard, without then parceling that out to more than 1,000 school districts across the state of California to determine their standard of safety, there's a problem. And so I will continue as superintendent, especially with the group of superintendents of urban districts, in consultation, of course, with you as the Board of Education, to advocate. We're also advocating at the federal level. We have board members, Board Member Kerr sits on the Council of Great City Schools. We're able to use some of those advocacy efforts to return to our state and paint a picture of what's the reality is for us in returning to reopen schools at some point.
Thank you, Dr. Baker.
Ms. Kerr.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Baker and Dr. Benitez. I just wanted to follow up on what you were saying, Dr. Baker, around having a standard across the state. And if the governor and your advocacy for that and the other superintendents is so important. And I think something that maybe state leadership recognized late in this process is that having a regional approach to the work was really important. So when they started to look at health standards by region as opposed to county,
the difference that that made for a Southern California region, again, of multiple counties with differing levels of infection. Approaching it regionally was the only way for it to work best for everybody. And the state really needs to take a similar approach. If they're not going to do a statewide standard for all districts, I even advocating for a regional standard so that we can say LA to San Diego, this is what your numbers look like. One of the things I think people talk about, the schools are safe, and you've done a great job of talking about physically how we are ready and we're going to put every safety protocol we can and safety measure in place. And everyone says kids are safer at school. Well, kids are only safer at school when community transmission is low. All of those studies were done when community transmission was low. Therefore, schools were a safer place. Well, community transmission at the moment is out of control, which means that there's high transmission. There's new studies coming out that schools aren't safe when the transmission is as high in the community as it is here. So yes, great that the governor wants to give us money to do the work, but the reality is it isn't about money right now for many of us. And those school districts that are doing that advocacy run the gamut politically. So for anyone who wants to assign some kind of political emotion or notion to this work, LA and Fresno are very different than San Francisco and Oakland and Long Beach. And so this is about the health and safety of kids who live in places like ours. And so to have that as a state coalition to do that work is really important. I want to thank you for being such a strong voice on that. It's not a popular opinion to have right now. And as we have this conversation, we understand that this is layer upon layer upon layer of complications of doing it. Even listening to public comment when we talk about we need to do more for students, but at the same time, we shouldn't be striving for in-person instruction for children with disabilities. Like, it's all right. All of those things are true at the same time, which makes this super complicated. So I just wanted to thank you for your advocacy. I echo Dr. Benitez's concerns. And this is something that, I keep hoping that on a Friday or during winter break, that staff is going to get a little bit of a break. That there maybe one weekend there won't be decisions to be made. And so for Dr. Brown to hear the update from this last weekend of staff spending hours in consultation with the health department always to do this work, it's a constant reassessment. It is not a static decision that we said March 1st and we're not going to think about it until the week before. This is constantly being reassessed. And so that even our 1,700 families or students and families are on notice that after more assessment in the next couple of days, it still might be different. That it's a continuously evolving situation again. And I want to thank staff for doing the work. I want to thank the families for being patient in how we're doing this, and especially our teachers and those who are helping our essential workers be able to do what they need to do to keep us safe. I'm just grateful, and yeah, it's a lot.
I just wanted to, if I may, President Craighead, just also bring us back to the perspective of some of what we've heard from our community. So very strongly in hours of board meetings since summer, we've heard messaging, strong messaging from our community that says, open schools, you should have been opened. Why aren't you open? There's no reason you can't be opened. We've heard from other components of our community that say, please don't open, don't you dare open, this isn't safe. We've heard from staff who say, and would still say right now, why can't we be teaching? I would be able to do a better job in my classroom if I were in person. We've heard in public comment tonight from staff who are saying, please don't make me return to work. And so I want to acknowledge in the conversation the divergent input that we get that are informed by very strong belief systems that people have. And what we continue to be compelled to do is to provide opportunities for children that match what is allowable, recognizing that there will be choice attached to what we offer. So in the moment that we are allowed to return in person, we will continue to have virtual options as we make that transition. And that feels really important to highlight. right now, because somewhere in the space of adults talking about what adults know, I think we lose the perspective about what we're doing for children. All Means All was created with the perspective of providing equitable opportunities for children. And when we stay focused there, I think it gives really strong focus to the work that we're trying to do. So I just wanted to kind of return us to that perspective.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. Do we have more questions about school reopening, or Mr. Otto? Oh, you're muted.
Oh, good. I'm glad it's not just me.
No, Mr. Otto, you need to, there you
Am I
go.
unmuted now?
Yeah.
I am unmuted. Okay, great. So this is my first board meeting, really. And this is quite a problem to tackle. Although it's my first board meeting, I've been around for a long time in Long Beach. I grew up here. I went to school here. Kids are in school here. I have grandkids in school here now. And I have, in particular, recently been watching what's gone on in this crisis and how this school district has responded to it. And I must say that I come to this new position with a lot of confidence in this district. Historically, it's been a lauded district, both nationally and internationally. It has a track record of solving its problems. These problems may look worse than problems that have been there in the past, but and maybe they are. But I do have confidence that we're working hard, that we're trying to solve these problems, that there are, as has recently been said, there's people on all sides of these issues, but we're approaching it in, I think, a very positive, heartfelt way that has characterized this district for as long as I can remember, which is a very, very, very long time. So sometimes it always seems like it's darkest before the dawn. I don't know what the solutions are to these questions. I do know that we've always made good decisions in the past and that those decisions have been validated. And so for the people on the phone, for the people that watch these meetings, for the people that are involved with the school district, all I can say is that have a little trust, have a little confidence, and watch us go and keep providing us with your input, because that's the way these things go. Since I got on this board not that long ago, I have watched the teachers and the staff and the parents and the students, and they have that confidence too. I know they do. And it's so heartwarming because in so many other places, so many other school districts, and I've been involved in education for many, many years now, that's just not true. So here we go. I think we're going to do a good job.
Thank you for those comments. Yes, Mr. Miller.
So very similar to Doug, I am obviously brand new. This is my all but second meeting, and I too have been watching from afar as the district, the administrative staff, and the teachers involved have been navigating the space the best way that they know how. Obviously, for all of us, this time is unprecedented. And when I look at this situation of the topic of reopening campuses, I have been consistent in my public comment and conversations with community members that I'm only going to be looking at this from, when I talk about this pandemic, from the perspective of a dad and the perspective of a father. And so when I think about the reopening of these campuses and the multi-generational households that could be influenced, though I recognize that these decisions are difficult, and I recognize there's an abundance of lost learning that's happening, I can't help but think that yes, that's going to have an impact on their aptitude. But can you imagine the amount of broken hearts that we could save if we keep people alive by not getting them infected by this disease? And when I think about that, I am humbled at the communities that I represent, because I recognize that, very similar to Dr. Benitez, my communities, my neighborhoods, and my district are predominantly people that are Black or brown and have been hardest hit by this pandemic. And so when I'm talking about, when I look at this decision of reopening, which I understand is going to be a tough one, and I understand that we're here talking about the academic success of students, I also want to make sure that we're looking at this also from the mortality of their family members. And do we want to carry, I know it's unfair for us to carry that burden as well, but that is something that we need to think about. So yes, this is going to be a tough transition, to say the least. But as we continue to navigate this space, I want to make sure that all of us continue to keep that in mind.
Thank you. Thank you. I think it really underscores the importance that we have a diverse board, that we have these unique perspectives that we bring to the work that we do. And it takes everybody and their understanding of the communities that we serve, that we do the best we can. I just have one clarifying question, Dr. Brown. I've heard from a couple of people about Long Beach having their own health department and the jurisdiction of the health department of Long Beach when our school district serves other cities like Avalon, Lakewood, and Signal Hill. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So just real quickly, the California Department of Public Health provides the guide for the state. They are the creator of the tiered system, the colored tiered system that we've talked so much about. They filter procedures and practices down to counties, and counties filter out to cities. We are fortunate to have our own health department. And early in the summer, as we were determining jurisdictions of all kinds of practices and procedures that were being discussed, the Long Beach Health Department worked out with LA County that they would have jurisdiction over all of our schools. So their practices for the City of Long Beach Health Department reflect the practices that we employ in all of our schools, to include Signal Hill, Avalon, and Lakewood.
Thank you. Okay, if there are no further questions, then I propose we take a 10-minute break. So we reconvene at 7:12. Welcome back, everybody. We will now go to business items and start with personnel. So, Mr. Miller.
All right. So this is my first time presenting the personnel. With that said, bear with me here. So this is from the Human Resource Service Committee. I present the following proposed actions prepared by Assistant Superintendent of Human Resource Services, approved and recommended by the superintendent. First, the classified and exempt personnel. Appointments, 42. Leaves of absence, 33. Separations, deceased, 2. Resignations, 4. Retirements, 9. Amendments, 3. And rescissions, 1. From the certificated personnel, appointments, 10. In-service changes, 1. Leaves of absence, 4. Separations, deceased, 1. Resignations, 1. And retirements, 4.
Nice job, Board Member
Well
Miller.
done.
I move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, Dr. Benitez,
Aye.
Ms. Kerr,
Aye.
Mr. Miller,
Aye.
Mr. Otto. Oh, you're
Aye.
muted.
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Opposed, abstentions, passes 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Miller. Next, we have instruction.
I move approval.
Second.
Discussion.
Just one quick question, Madam Chair, regarding our school achievement plans. Is there a difference on either process or content and approach to a plan as opposed to where we were last year before the pandemic? I know we have a few plans that are being approved tonight.
That's a good question. Who would like to take that?
So, Dr. Benitez, I think what you're asking is, do the plans that are being voted on address this year?
Correct.
And so schools still have the requirement to work with their school site council and to adjust their plans. In many cases this year, because of distance learning and because they cannot spend their money on things because they're not in person, they're redeploying that money to other resources that students can access online. And so those are active plans.
That's perfect, Dr. Baker. And that's what I was sort of going at, right? How
Yes.
monies are being used this year differently than in previous.
Yes. I also just want to let you know that while you're approving a number of the school's plans tonight, there are a whole host of other plans that are in progress. But our compliance office checks, the Equity Access and College and Career Readiness Office checks things off very carefully. And so until the plan fully complies with the requirements, they don't submit it for your approval.
Thank you. Thank you for adding that part. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, Dr. Benitez,
Aye.
Ms. Kerr,
Aye.
Mr. Miller? Well, you were muted, but I read lips.
I'm sorry. Aye.
Okay, Mr. Otto?
Aye.
I vote aye. Opposed, abstentions, passes 5-0. Finance Report A.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, Dr. Benitez,
Aye.
Ms. Kerr,
Aye.
Mr. Miller. Mr. Miller, you were, yes, thank you.
2 times in a row. Aye.
Mr. Otto?
Aye.
I vote aye. Opposed, abstentions, passes 5-0. Finance Report B.
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion.
Yes, Madam Chair, I recuse myself from participation in Finance Report B under the consent calendar. I have a potential financial interest under Government Code 1091 and 87100. My husband works for a subcontractor who has done work for the payees.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor, Dr. Benitez,
Aye.
Mr. Miller,
Aye.
Mr. Otto?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Opposed, passes 4-0 with 1 abstention. Business Department Report.
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, Dr. Benitez,
Aye.
Ms. Kerr,
Aye.
Mr. Miller,
Aye.
Mr. Otto?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Opposed, abstentions, passes 5-0. Purchasing and Contracts Report.
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, Dr. Benitez,
Aye.
Ms. Kerr,
Aye.
Mr. Miller,
Aye.
Mr. Otto,
Aye.
and I vote aye. Opposed, abstentions, passes 5-0. Now we go to superintendent items. Dr. Baker.
Thank you, Mrs. Craighead. I have 2 items tonight that fall under superintendent's items. The first is the quarterly report for the Williams lawsuit settlement. That is a standard report. There were no complaints and therefore no needs for resolving complaints. And so this is an information item that we will be submitting this on behalf of the school district to the county office. The second is an administrative assignment for elementary schools. And that takes, the recommendation is Tracy Hall, who is currently the assistant principal at Dooley Elementary, moves into the role of acting principal at Dooley Elementary. This is to be a short-term assignment while the current principal, Nicole Houghton-Childs, is out for a period of time taking care of her health.
I move approval.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, Dr. Benitez,
Aye.
Ms. Kerr,
Aye.
Mr. Miller,
Aye.
Mr. Otto,
Aye.
and I vote aye. Opposed, abstentions, passes 5-0. Unfinished business, we have none. New business, approve additional members to the Community Advisory Committee for Special Education.
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion? Well, I would like to welcome and thank the newest members, Lilia Ocampo, Martha De La Torre, and Kumiko McKillen. Thank you for stepping up and joining this group. Sure you will be wonderful additions. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, Dr. Benitez,
Aye.
Ms. Kerr,
Aye.
Mr. Miller,
Aye.
Mr. Otto,
Aye.
and I vote aye. Opposed, abstentions, passes 5-0. Now we are at Equity Policy Development Update. Dr. Brown.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Briefly, and just for information only, I want to celebrate the first meeting that we had with the Student Equity Leadership Team. I was joined by my colleague, Dr. Camarino, for a really wonderful hour and a half with high school students. They always give us real important feedback and keep us grounded in where we want to be. So we're really looking forward to continued work with that group. Our next meeting will be on February 10th. And then also looking into next week, we are celebrating already the first meeting of our district equity leadership team, 30 participants who are going to provide some very impactful input and information experiences for us as we work toward the development of an equity policy and grow our work into whatever wonderful next steps the group wants to take us. Our first meeting will be on January 21st, and our steering committee has been working diligently this week to reach out to all of the members so that everyone has a personal contact prior to arriving at the meeting next week. So more to come, but celebrating those two things tonight.
Wonderful, thank you. Do we have any questions or? No? Okay, well, thank you for your work in that area. Let's move on to report of board members. We will start with Dr. Benitez.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I think I'll keep it to a minimum since we had a good conversation and a very informative and educational conversation. So welcome to our new colleagues Mr. Otto, Mr. Miller. You got the first one under your belts here, so congratulations on that first meeting. I want to start off by, even though we're almost 2 weeks in, just wishing everyone a happy 2021, a healthy, happy, and prosperous 2021. Wishing grace for everyone in the midst of our national political climate. And I like something that Mr. Otto mentioned about having confidence in our district. And I think all of us appreciate that acknowledgement, Mr. Otto. I'm only 2.5 years in. And again, even when I don't agree or for the questions that I bring up, it's still anchored in trust and confidence that we are moving in the right direction and that we are listening and that we are upholding the value of trying to do what's best for students and our community's vision for student success. I'll just add two more things. I'm going to, I think I mentioned in December that I've been holding virtual community office hours. I'll start those up again next week and be glad to share with our exec staff and our colleagues what the vibe is in District 3 from those meetings. I want to thank Dr. Brown and all the members of our equity team and the advisory group as well. I'm looking forward to hearing about that work advancing, and I think it's couldn't be more timely, right? So that work is going to have real, concrete, significant impact in guiding our district forward. And then lastly, I want to also acknowledge that our school district, as well as Long Beach City College and a few community organizations, met with Cal State Long Beach College of Education. Was that this week, Dr. Brown, or was that last week?
Oh, it's amazing you said that. That was Monday.
And an opportunity for a Kellogg grant, and based on being innovative around racial justice and in particularly for our Black communities. And so just wanted to highlight that our collaboration with Cal State Long Beach, with our community partners, and with LBCC is full going this calendar year. And hopefully, even if the grant isn't awarded, there's a good conversation across our systems with community partners aligned with the equity work and particularly lifting up Black voices that our district is engaged in. So thank you, Dr. Brown, Dr. Zaid, and Dr. Williams. But the best thanks that I want to give to is to the 2 LBUSD students that I think were at the core of, one, the importance of centering around student voices. We can talk about empowerment all day, we can talk about equity all day, but the student voice through the lens of empowerment and equity, I think could not have been highlighted better. And I was so proud of the contributions that the 2 LBUSD students made. I would love to say their names, but I want to keep that in confidence because I didn't ask them permission to share their names. But if Dr. Brown, if you're at liberty to share their names, because I didn't ask them, feel free to do so.
Oh, yes, thank you. Anaya Lewis and True Jones, who are both Millikan students, and they did such a beautiful job representing us. They made us very proud, themselves proud, and I'm sure their families are very proud.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Ms. Kerr.
Yeah, I'll keep mine brief as well. I want to give a great shout out to our OCI PD and Dr. Kale and her team, and especially our curriculum leads and Dr. Baker for responding so quickly to the history that was unfolding last week. We know that our teachers and staff are shepherding our students through unprecedented times and history in the making, especially last week. And so not only did Dr. Baker deliver a message of how we need to stay student focused and really be a method that kids can process with, but our curriculum department canceled some meetings, got together, and within a couple of hours came out with a curriculum guide that was developmentally appropriate and grade level appropriate for teachers and staff members to be able to work with students almost immediately. And I'm so grateful for that. I actually passed it on to 2 teachers in other districts, both of whom hadn't received guidelines like that at all. And we're so grateful for the tools to be able to use with our students, not just this week and next week, but into the future around those really important conversations. So to our curriculum leads and Dr. Kale, OCIPD, and Dr. Baker for your very strong leadership last week was super important. And I want to say thank you for that. That's really it. I usually don't do quotes, but I get a daily gratefulness word that I have for over a decade. And this one reminded me of today's meeting because things are really hard and things are really dark. When we talk about a dark winter, this has been it. And it's in the midst of gathering darkness, light becomes evident. And there's so much light happening. And we are so blessed to have an incredible team of people who help bring light when there isn't a lot of light to be had. So to our teachers and staff and executive team who continue to try to be light for our community and families, to everyone who's out there doing their part, I just am really grateful for all of that continued good work. And hopefully there is a lot more light to come.
Well, from your lips, as the saying goes. Okay, how about Mr. Miller?
I too will try and make it brief as it is getting a little late and I have daddy duties to get to. But I first just wanted to thank all of the district staff over the past 2 weeks. They have been phenomenal in regards to both helping myself and Doug be prepared for today's meeting, but also coaching us up on the long and proud history of the district, along with a lot of the successes that they've had over this long duration. And so I've been quite impressed with both the administrative staff and some of the principals that I've been able to meet with as of late. And I'm looking forward to continuously working with you all over the next few years. With this said, I wanted to take a quick turn and acknowledge an important day in my family and in Black history, for that matter, and MLK Day. It's funny, I love the holidays in regards to Christmas and Halloween and Thanksgiving. But ironically, in my family, probably one of the biggest holidays, or the ones that's most celebrated, especially by my father, is the MLK Day. He has always been quite impressed with the great work that Dr. Martin Luther King did in social injustice. And let's make sure that we emphasize one important component to that name that often gets remissed, and that is Dr. Martin Luther King. As not only was he a great social justice advocate, but he was also very well educated and got his doctorate before he was 25 years old. And so with all of these things said, we acknowledge Dr. Martin Luther King and his legacy on Monday. And normally in my district, we would have this fantastic MLK parade that I literally have been participating in my entire life. And unfortunately, due to this pandemic, we won't get the opportunity to do so. But I've been quite impressed with the big legacy that my friend, Dr. Suli Saro, has taken in getting ingratiated as the new 6th District Council member, and had to hit the ground running with hosting this year's event, which will be virtual. And they'll be doing this in concert with Dream Creator Studios. It will be, well, Dream Creator Studios and Leadership Long Beach, which I'm an alumni of. And so this will be shown virtually this year. Well, also the MLK Day of Service. Obviously, we're talking about one day of community service, but I like to think that carrying the empathy that's needed to do that day can be carried throughout the entire year. So I'd love for all that can to participate in some form of service on MLK Day and throughout 2021, as we could sure use it. And the words of Dr. Benitez and Megan Kurlitz, stay safe. Take care.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Mr. Otto.
Thanks so much. And I too will be brief. You know, when I was starting to wrap my mind around becoming a member of this board, I went with John Meyer, who is the gentleman that I succeeded in this job for the fourth area in the city of Long Beach. And we visited with every single principal. There were over 20 of them in my area for about an hour each. And what we said was, John said, Doug's going to replace me. I've known him for a long time. We just want to put a face with a name because it's all about relationships. And so here's Doug Otto. And we would then talk about the schools of these 22 principals for about an hour. And I can't tell you how moved I was by each and every principal. They were passionate, caring, smart, confident in what they were doing. And I just had this very kind of overwhelming feeling. And John and I would talk about it after every single interview about what good hands the Long Beach Unified School District was on the ground. And so that was very heartwarming to do that. And I feel like I know those principals now and that I can talk to them. And I did say to them, if you have a problem with the district, solve it. I'm a policy guy. I'm not a micromanager. And I thought that was pretty funny. But I said, if you got a call and stop by. And so that was a great introduction to the district. And I'm looking forward to this work. It's very, very important work. And to echo what Juan Benitez did not say, you know, we're doing this tonight on the day that the President of the United States is being for the second time impeached. And I can't help but think this is all going on, and yet this is a democracy that works, and it's continuing to work. This board, this public service that we're all performing here, and the good work that we do because of our community. You know, when I got sworn in on the 15th of December, I was sworn in by Dr. Baker, by Luann Bynum, who is the president at Long Beach City College now, and Jane Close Conley. We are, it's the Long Beach College Promise. It's been around for 15 years now, and it's so important. It's gone nationwide in terms of the contributions that it makes. And Long Beach may be the only place in the United States where you can go pre-K through an educational doctorate along one street, 7th Street. And Long Beach, education in Long Beach is very special. And we're going to try and make it and continue to be special. I'm looking forward to working with my colleagues on this board and the exceptional staff that we've got. And that's all I've got.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to continue Ms. Kerr's theme of bringing in some light. So tonight I'm going to highlight a teacher at Avalon. His name is Jim Corboy, and he teaches 5th grade robotics, 7th grade science, and 8th grade physics. And he has set up his garage to be a classroom, and he entertains the kids with science experiments and keeps them engaged So I just want to say, thank you to Mr. Corboy and all the other teachers that are going above and beyond to make this time special for our kids, to do everything in their power, to teach our kids in this overwhelmingly challenging time. So thank you to all of our teachers for that. Let's see, next on the agenda is the superintendent's report.
Thank you. So we started the evening introducing Wisdom Holland from Lakewood High School. I also want to acknowledge, in addition to being the ASB president, she's on the Superintendent Student Advisory Committee and has just brought great voice to that committee. But tonight I do want to read about a number of our students to continue this idea of bringing in the light in a really dark time, a time that can feel so overwhelmingly sad. I know for me, though, keeping focused on what students are doing in this time is a way to keep myself going and to think about the future that we have in Long Beach Unified School District. So Dr. Benitez and Dr. Brown have already talked about True Jones and Anaya Lewis, but I do want to say their name again. They were our student participants in Catalyzing Black Educational Equity in Long Beach, exploring possibilities for a grant that Cal State Long Beach hopes to make, and you've already heard about them. Second, I want to just tell you briefly about a group from the Student Advisory Committee, from the Superintendent Student Advisory Committee, that participated in something called SABLE, Student Advisory Board on Legislation in Education Conference. On their own weekend time, we paid for their registration fee, and they participated in 2 days of active work around legislation, culminating today in a presentation to the Joint State and Assembly Committee on Education. And so one of our students was actually a presenter and just spoke so eloquently. And that is Cameron, I want to say her last name correctly. Let me find it. Cameron Moore Woods from Cabrillo High School. She was the presenter. She was joined by Maya Bryson from Wilson, Megan Lane from Poly, Katrina Doyle Jacobson from Renaissance, who all were a part of the SABLE convening, beautifully representing Long Beach Unified School District. I also want to shout out to Namaya Phillips, who is a student at Franklin Middle School. You might have read about Namaya in the Long Beach Post because she's currently competing on the Food Network's Kids Baking Championship. And if you read the article, you can find her social media and read all about her story about becoming an exceptional baker. So I encourage you to look her up. She's Namaya Phillips, and a great story and a great Long Beach Unified student. And then lastly, I want to shout out just to some of our music teachers. I had the honor of receiving a number of emails from music teachers that linked to their winter concerts that were in a virtual setting, but you can't even have imagined how beautiful they were. I know a number of you got to listen to them. Poly created a CD that was all recorded virtually, Poly Days, and I want to shout out to Brian Doko about that, and to Drake York from Millikan High School, who produced a winter concert in the virtual setting and shared with me that it felt like getting a PhD in YouTube. Once he finished that, what he knew about production was just amazing. And so to listen to those student voices was truly uplifting. And I just thank our teachers who have been so creative in learning new things and pulling our students together to express their talents. We've had a conversation at the board governance level about featuring some of these. And so look forward to the upcoming board meetings where we may be able to do brief presentations and just spotlight the work of our teachers and our students in their classrooms, especially during distance learning. And so that's my report tonight. Thank you, Mrs. Craighead.
Thank you. It is always so wonderful to hear about the good and positive things that are happening, that kids continue to thrive and teachers continue to teach and be creative. Very inspiring. How about announcements? Do we have any announcements? Okay. How about adjournment?
So moved.
Thank you, everybody, for staying with us. Good night.